Make that 4 straight victories. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Count them up.
For this Minnesota Vikings team as they are victorious here at Lambeau Field in another border battle against the Green Bay Packers. I'm Gabe Henderson. That's Ben Leber. This is Between the Lines presented by Continental Diamond and Ben. Just a tale of two halves. The Vikings were up 28-7. I want to say 28-0, but 28-7 in the first half, and then finished the game winning 31-29. How would you assess just the nerve level, the nerves for this team from first half to the second half?
It was tough. I mean, definitely I got nervous. I got nervous there in the second half because you could just feel, I mean, in the stadium, the crowd was quiet in the first half. They had nothing to cheer for, and all of a sudden they start making some plays, and then the crowd gets into it. You can see the vibe and the energy on the sideline, both offense and defense for the Vikings just wasn't there. And so I got a little worried. Yeah. I mean, but I was on the sideline, and I saw, right before we had the two takeaways, I saw Brian Flores look at his defense and just said, like, hey, guys, how do you respond?
Yeah. He
just basically asked them a very generic question. How do you guys respond? And we come out with two takeaways in the fourth quarter. We gave up some yards, but we did enough to win this game.
Yeah, 4 takeaways. The Minnesota Vikings, under head coach Kevin O'Connell, is 21-0 when they win the takeaway battle. And a guy who was responsible for 2 of those were Byron Murphy. You talked to him in the locker room. Yeah. What were his thoughts after the game?
He was all smiles. He was all smiles. The funny thing is I asked him specifically about the punch-out. I mean, to me, it's such an art form. When I was playing, like, we didn't really teach – the primary tackler, the first guy to get there, to really go after the football. But, lately, and I would say the last, 5 to 8 years, these guys are getting so skilled at being the first guy there on the ball carrier and somehow securing the tackle and punching the ball out. And he said, it's hard to practice that in practice because we don't go live a lot. But he's like, we do work on it. And he's like, I felt my hand hit the ball and I felt my arm go all the way through. But he's like, it was at the point of contact. I didn't see the ball come out. So he didn't even know that the ball got knocked out until he saw Bynum pick it up, and then he sees Bynum go in the end zone and do a sweet little backflip. But, he was all smiles. Yeah. He had a great game. And, we need different guys each and every game to step up and make plays, and he was the guy this week.
Yeah. Staying on the defensive side of the ball, we knew this was a Green Bay Packers team that ran the ball effectively. I believe they had over 200 rushing yards in their last few contests. And when you look at the stats at the end of this game, this Minnesota Vikings defense held the Green Bay Packers to 86 yards on the ground. Where does that start when you assess our defense today?
Well, I mean, it was perfectly split in half. It was 43 yards in the first half and 43 yards in the second half. And, I'll continue to talk about Harrison Phillips, those guys up front. Yeah. They're doing such a good job. I mean, Harrison's like a dancing bear out there. I mean, he can get kind of knocked around. He can take on a double team. He can get pushed back a little bit, but he never loses his feet. And that is such the key to stopping the run for the guys up front is we have to take on those blocks because they happen right there at the point of attack. But what you do after that really depends on like how good we are against the run, and we're holding up our blocks, we're getting off the blocks, and so if they're not the first guy there, they're the second guy there. Those guys up front are doing such a good job getting off blocks. Our linebackers are very aggressive, getting downhill, fighting off the blocks that are coming to them. So we're playing very, very sound right now to hold this offense to 86 yards. Wow. It's crazy.
What does that do for a linebacker? You're a former Vikings linebacker. I think of Blake Cashman, another game where he has 11 tackles, 2 QB hits, 2 tackles for loss. What does that do for a linebacker when your defensive line is holding up blocks up front?
I mean, it's everything. When you can run clean, that's great, and he can just use his athleticism and his instincts to go out there and make plays. I mean, he's got his twitch factor is off the charts. I mean, when the ball's in the air, I mean, the way that he breaks and the way that he moves through space is phenomenal. It's fun to watch. The one thing that I want to point out about his game is, he sacrifices his body a lot in the blitz game. And sometimes it pays off, but other times it doesn't. And it paid off a little bit today where he's asked to be the primary guy in the rush, and his only job is to ear hole an offensive lineman and to knock him off his balance so somebody else can loop around and make the plays. He does that time and time again. So he doesn't get enough credit for his reckless abandonment that he plays with, even in the blitz game.
A huge contributor to the 17 sacks for this Minnesota Vikings team. Going into this game, this Minnesota Vikings defense led the NFL in sacks. But I want to talk about the offensive side of the ball because there was a certain individual that came into this game with an extra chip on his shoulder. His name is Aaron Jones. Another performance for this Minnesota Vikings team where he finishes a game with 100 yards from scrimmage.
Yeah,
You
143 total.
143 from scrimmage. I believe it's 100 yards in 3 of the first 4 games as a Minnesota Viking. But you talked to him in the locker room post-game. What were your thoughts on that conversation?
He goes, all the emotions are just kind of sinking in. And I said, how badly?
It was weird.
I think, as a player, you want to be so focused. You don't want this game, one of these games to come back into your old home stadium in front of your crowd, and you don't want that to override really what the goal is. Your goal is to go out there and just play one play at a time, be the best that you can be, and not make any mental mistakes. And so I can understand why it takes a while, to sit in the locker room, to have that cooling off period where yeah, we did just do that. I just went out there and performed like that, 143 total yards. He was doing everything on the ground, receiving as well. And, you could tell that he really wanted it bad. He wanted the Lambeau leap at the end of the game. He did say he got one, though. Actually, not far away from us, walking into the locker room. Even though he didn't score a touchdown, he still got his Lambeau leap in.
That's all that matters, and hopefully somebody can put those 2 pictures side by side when Aaron Jones leaped when he was a Packer and then when he leaped post-game as a Minnesota Viking. This offense, though, just continuing to find ways to get the ball to different players. We know Justin Jefferson is going to get his.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is going to get his. But welcome back to the team, Jordan Addison. Just another phenomenal day. You talked to him post-game. What does he mean for this offense and for this team?
Weapon. He's an absolute weapon. I mean, he talked about, his first ever career rushing touchdown, and I was like, what's it feeling like when they make that call in the huddle and this ball is coming to me. We're right here on the goal line, and he made a sweet little move to get in the end zone, and he goes like, it felt like I was playing Madden. He's like, it was all just instinct,
The right shift button.
Yeah, and I get it, man. Nobody wants to hold on, get the ball and want to get tackled. You're going to do everything you can, especially when you have the end zone right there. So it was fun to see the smile on his face, to get back on this football field and just be an absolute weapon. His touchdown that he had running up the seam, that's how we can use Justin Jefferson, because the safety over the top, they're playing man coverage. He immediately runs to Justin's side.
Yep.
Even though Sam just gives him a quick look and then he goes off. So that safety and the attention that everybody has to give to Justin near the red zone, it just opens everything up for everybody else, and then he's going to win that one-on-one matchup all the time. And it was a sweet ball and sweet catch for that touchdown.
Let's stay with Justin Jefferson because, one, I think he had probably – since that Buffalo game, the 3rd and 18 Buffalo catch, the one-handed catch that everyone talks about, catch of the year, that 3rd and long catch that he had today,
3rd and 12 or whatever it was?
Yeah, when he dragged his foot, those are the plays that he makes. But I want to talk about the other side of his game because you talked about the Jordan Addison touchdown, his first rushing touchdown of his career. Justin Jefferson's blocking a cornerback in the end zone.
Yeah.
What does that say about Justin Jefferson's leadership?
He's always been a team player. Always. I mean, I think that he has tremendous value as an athlete on the field, but I think the tone setter that he is for the chemistry of this locker room, I don't know if you can actually put a dollar figure on that. That was one of the things, I know that he was negotiating his contract in the offseason, all this other stuff. We're not going to get into all that, but I was thinking as a fan, I'm like, you have to bring this guy back, not only just for what he does on the field, but for what he creates in that locker room. And a lot of guys, I really think that his unselfish play and the way how humble he is, I think that reverberates to everybody else, that they can look at our superstar, one of the best players in the league, plays so unselfishly. It makes you as a player want to do the same thing.
I love it. My final question for you, because I was trying my best to wait week and week and week to ask you this, but it takes about 3 or 4 weeks before an identity of a team starts to surface. So now that this Minnesota Vikings team is 4-0, they finally won their first division game of the season. What is the identity of this team?
That they can do it all. They can win. They can win from multiple ways. You can never count this team out, and we have so many weapons. We're going to get Hawkinson back soon, and all of a sudden now, Sam just really. I know everybody looks at game manager as a negative, but game manager, when you have all these weapons and you don't make careless mistakes throwing the ball away, you're almost unstoppable. And you give the defense the identity to pin their ears back even more than they already do. They pin their ears back on first down of the first quarter. I mean, it's the start of the game and they're going to pin their ears back. That's just the nature of this defense. But when you go up multiple scores and you make the other team one-dimensional, it just feeds right into what B-Flow is trying to do. So they're just humming right now, and there's hunger in that locker room. None of those guys are going to rest on their laurels at all.
I love that. Well, look, this Minnesota Vikings team is 4-0 for the first time since 2016, and the last time they played Aaron Rodgers, it was on this field. Well, this upcoming Sunday, they head across the pond to face Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Going to be a great game. I'm sure our international fans are looking forward to that. It's
going to be fun. They got another great defense, man. Our offensive line, they have gotten no breaks because, this start, they had 4 really good defensive fronts. They're going to get another one with the Jets.
Well, Sam Darnold was only hit 3 times today. Hopefully this Minnesota Vikings line can continue that success and dominance over in London at Tottenham Hotspur next week. For Ben Leber, Ryan O'Neill, my name is Gabe Henderson. This was Between the Lines presented by Continental Diamond.